welcome back to Normalising Life. This is episode 11, and how are you doing this week, Rob?
I am excellent. I've been flat of the mat, but it's what I like to be like. And now Italy's went in the yellow zone as well, so we've got a bit of freedom. We've got restaurants are open. We've got out and about shops, pubs, everything. Just not gyms for fuck's sake, but sure. What about you?
Yeah, it's been crazy, mate. I've been banging in the 14-hour days, kind of just getting loads of work done and stuff, because kind of for me, while I'm not doing physio stuff, it's really important that I can kind of get on top of all the other businessy stuff. So just all the stuff with this new business, say game stuff, has been going really, really well, and it's just a matter of just staying on top of it and just
awesome.
Making sure that we can make as much movements as we can in this period, really, because it's crazy. I hope it hurries up and fucks off. I want to go travelling again.
Oh, it's. I think it's coming. I can feel it. See, the vaccinated like 600,000 people in one day. That's mad. Just need to keep doing that every day for
I've seen
7 months.
I've seen some of my physio friends in the NHS, like they're starting to be able to be trained in giving the vaccine and stuff now as well. So they're getting literally like all hands on deck on giving it out. So as soon as my dad gets it as well, I can start doing more physio stuff and whatnot again, and start building on all that stuff. But yeah, I'm looking forward to just kind of getting out of this bloody cold country. I hate it so much.
Yeah. Even I'm cold and I'm in Italy. I don't know how you feel. It's fucking shocking.
Well, -1 when I went out there this morning. Why am I walking around? -1. But yeah, not a fan of the English weather, and I know that the repercussions of everything, like taxes wise and stuff, is not going to be good. So
yeah,
like
run
I was saying from the first couple of episodes, Australia, I'm coming Australia. but yeah, there's been a bit of a crazy week in the news, and especially like we've been talking a bit before about, we always share our stocks and shares information, don't we, and whatnot a little bit, and some of the stuff this week has been absolutely crazy, hasn't it?
Yeah, all about that GameStop. I'm sure people have seen it in the news. I looked at it first and I was like, fuck, that looks like it's mega, but it looks like so much complicated for me to understand. So I did do a bit of digging and put it into layman's terms for myself, but it's pretty funny. I don't know how much you know about it and the listeners know about it, but basically GameStop were like a dying company, like proper dying company, and they were worth fuck all. And then there's a lot of big hedge funders. Hedge funders are basically companies that come to you and say, if you give me so and so money, I can give you back more in like 10 years time. And it's like that's what a hedge fund is. And then eventually they have like $1 million or hundreds of £1 million together of everyone's money, and then they put it on one stock. And then because they have so much money going into one stock, they have so much influence on the stock market. Everyone hates hedge funders for that reason. So they put all this money into GameStop. But GameStop were waiting for this to happen. They had a forum with like hundreds of thousands of people in the forum saying, right, we're going to wait for them to do this, and then whenever they buy, we'll buy. So whenever everyone bought GameStop, the price went up and it stayed up. So the price of GameStop went sky high, and the hedge funders couldn't make their money back by selling the stock when it went up. So it was an absolute mess for hedge funders. And then even though the Reddit guys were losing money, like because they were buying stock so high, they were losing money, but they didn't give a fuck because they just wanted to kick like the hedge funders. It's mad. It just didn't make sense at all. But it's just literally like a kick in the balls to hedge funders.
Yeah, because I think it was GameStop was the main one, but there were a few, like Nokia was one that was bought as well, and there was like a cinema company, like I think it was like ANG maybe or something. Like there were a couple of different ones that were all bought that all went screwed through the roof, and yeah, like when I said I don't really understand it completely what happened, but I know that obviously hedge funds and these kind of trust funds, they make up like 90 to 95% of trading in general of like the stock market.
There's so much control over it.
So it's like us individual investors, even if you're investing with your own millions, it's not putting a dent in anything in comparison to what they're doing, because it's like you said, hundreds of millions if not trillions of dollars that they're trading with. And the fact that I think the stock started to rise meant that these hedge funds bought in or something, and then the other guys either, I think there's some people that made a shitload of money on it as well. Like
the owner of GameStop's like a billionaire or something now. He didn't do anything, and his company's worth fuck all. He's got 0 games. Like it's not like a thing anymore, and he's just got loads of money for nothing, all from hedge funders. Mad.
Yeah, it's crazy, but it's like I was just. I mean, I was looking at it at the early times of it, and I was like, do I try and buy into something like this? I'm not touching anything like that. It's not.
It completely got shut down. Like,
Yeah.
and there's loads of lawsuits, like hundreds of lawsuits going in against them, and then against the trading platform. I can't remember what it's called. I think it's called Robinhood or something.
Robinhood, yeah. It got taken off trading on trading 212. Like, it got. I mean, I obviously didn't invest in it, but it was like. It got taken off of Trading 212 and Robinhood, but I think when it got taken off Robinhood, there was like some influence, so I believe something about the CEOs in like jail or something now, or he's going down for like white collar crime. Because
I don't know, it's pretty mad, the whole thing.
But yeah, no, that was an absolutely, it's been a crazy story. That I've been trying to follow it a little bit, but it's all over the place. I'm not explaining today, trying to.
It's a lot. There's a lot more to it when I just put it into simple terms. Like, there's a lot more to it than whatever I said. But it's pretty much the biggest thing on the news at the minute. And
apart from the COVID, and we do try and cover anything.
Yeah, but we don't want to talk about that anymore. I want some bad things to happen. No more bad things to happen. Do you know what was pretty cool though? I was going to make a post on Instagram the other day, but the fact we see when the snow hit like last week, and like everyone was outside having fun, and like. Everyone had something positive to say on that one day that the snow fell. Everyone was happy, and it was so nice to see. And then 2 days later, it's all fucking shit again. Negativity.
I love the saying where focus goes, energy flows, and I think that's a lot of things that's happening with people at the minute. When you focus on the negative and you focus on the bad in anything, your energy is going to focus on that, and that's going to come to you. So if you focus on the positive, oh look how snowy it is, and great to have a day out in the snow and go sledging, whatever you're doing. Then you're focusing on positive, you're going to get positive. If you start focusing on negative, you're going to get negative. And obviously, COVID, there's a lot of negative to be focused on.
Yeah, which actually brings us to the bitter pill to swallow that I came up with this week, which is you don't have a mental illness. Like, there's so many people that during this whole pandemic that think they have a mental illness just because they're a bit down. Realistically, what they have is bad mental health. Health is like the spectrum. Like, the difference between mental illness and mental health is like massive. Yeah. Mental health is like, so it's a scale. Your health is like, say your wrist health, right? Like, say if you have arthritis, like that's bad wrist health. And then if you have really good wrist mobility, that's good health in your wrists. It's the same aspect of mental health. Like, you can have bad, it fluctuates from good to bad the whole time. But at the minute, because of the restrictions and all, you're always going to be sad. It's like people with arthritis, it's the wrist problem, sitting on the wrists the whole time. Like, the government's making you sit in your wrists, and your wrists are always going to be sore. This is the same as your health at the minute. But then as soon as the restrictions start to get depleted, and then you start to get out a bit more, hence the snow, like last week, whenever you didn't really care about the restrictions, it was like getting off those hands, getting off the mental health, and you got your peak. But whenever all this shit ends, like, the health should go up, like, there's no question about it, but it's just a matter of when.
Yeah, I think, again, I'm going to hit you with a lot of sayings with this, because I've got a lot of things that I like about this topic, but I think a lot of people, myself included, earlier on in the first lockdown, we're thinking that you're depressed, but you're not depressed, you're doing depression. So like you're kind of talking yourself into doing depression and doing the things that make you feel depressed. You're not necessarily depressed in itself. And there's another thing that I think a lot of people say is that they say, like, I've got mental health. It's like, sweet. Like you were saying, it's like saying I've got a wrist. It's like, yeah, everyone's got mental health, whether it's like good or bad, or you feel like you're positive, or you feel negative in yourself or whatever. Everyone's got mental health. It's just where you're sitting and how you
basically,
manage it.
If you have bad mental health, it means your view of yourself, your view of the world and other people is excessively negative, which is always going to be. If you're just stuck in your house doing nothing, like, it's always going to be negative. Like, it's hard to be positive, but it's not impossible, and it's just a matter of time till these bans are lifted, and then you can start being positive again, and then your outlook of everything will be positive.
Yeah. But, and I think people look at like, I'm sure there's like antidepressants do help some people, but I really don't like the idea of them, taking the pills for them. And I think it's about where your focus is. If you can, like, I would say that a lot more recently I've been feeling a lot better in myself, but I wouldn't say that this is saying that I've got better. I've just all of a sudden my mental health has got better. It's because I've created situations, and I've put myself in the situations to build and like create this better person, and create this. So getting up, going on a walk on a morning, which I wasn't doing before, spending quality time with loved ones, cutting people that are negative out of my life and stuff that are going to bring me down and whatnot, and just being more positive in general, doing more things for my body, and like that's just like whether it's eating right or doing exercise and stuff. These things are all feeding me to make myself a better person. And if you are kind of going towards this kind of poorer mental health, feeling like you're depressed, ask yourself, are you really giving yourself a fighting chance? And are you actually doing depression, or are you actually depressed? Because a lot of people are actually doing depression and not giving themselves a fighting chance, not drinking enough water, they're not doing like some exercise, they're not getting out, they're not speaking to loved ones, the people around them are probably negative and kind of being mopey and stuff as well. And it's like, you need to create this environment and create a person that's going to be as positive as you can. You can't just go, oh, this is me now, I'm just this depressed person, I just live this life where I wake up, I watch Netflix, I sit at my desk, I work 8 hours, I go watch Netflix a little bit more, and then I go to bed and I do it on repeat. And it's like, you need to, the world happens to you or it happens for you, and you've got to make sure that it's happening for you, not to you.
And do with anything in your power to do that as well. I'm the same. Like I suffer. Even my friends don't even know this. Like I suffer from SAD, like the seasonal depression. Like I think it's inherited from my dad, bastard. But yeah, every year, like, around just before Christmas, all triggered from whenever I was in Saudi. So whenever I was in Saudi, and it was my first Christmas away from home, and I was stuck in the desert away from home, working. I was underneath an aircraft. I remember like this day I was underneath an aircraft defueling it, and Christmas Day it was terrible, like covered in fuel, just terrible. And then I was FaceTiming my family at the dinner table. It put me in an awful place. And ever since that, the seasonal thing kicked in. So every Christmas time I always hit a wee rut. This year was the first year I didn't hit the rut, which is mad, because 2020 you would have thought like this is the year that if there's any time for a rut, it's for this year. But no, not this year. I think it's purely because I kept myself busy and I was purely positive. I was happy with my girlfriend and all, so that's what pulled me through, I think, and I didn't really hit a rut.
Yeah, I think that's it, mate. Like you change your focus. Like this year, you might, like you probably know in yourself that doing the airplane stuff that you do now isn't gonna be your end game. So it's like, if you've been doing all this other shit and you haven't had your end game in sight, then your focus is always going to be on something that's a little bit more negative. But this year you've been like, I fucking smashed it, I've got this new business, I've got the hybrid stuff that I'm killing, and it's like my focus is on, I can see my future now, I can see that positive future. Whereas like, I think Christmas time and New Year is always that chance where people reflect on the last year, and like if they don't really like what they see, they can go into that really like that seasonal slump kind of thing. And I think when you look back and you're actually happy at what you've achieved in the circumstances of what you've achieved it's like, fucking hell, like give yourself some props, because I think a lot of the time people do self-love and like beat themselves up a little bit, and it's so important to kind of come away from that and not do that. And I think it's just so important to, like you say, just kind of focus on the positives, keep that focus positive.
Absolutely. Do you have any bitter pills to swallow this week?
So I'm not sure if anyone on here has really, or anyone listening has really kind of ventured into the world of this new app called Clubhouse before, but did we talk about it last week? I'm not even sure if I mentioned
briefly, just mentioned about it, saying you're...
Yeah. But I'm spending a lot of time on it. I think it's going to be really big in the future, like a new social media platform for like audio stuff, even like live podcasting and stuff. I think it's going to be really good. But basically, I went into a room, and for some of you guys that are watched a lot of the episodes going back, you'll know that I'm transitioning to more of a plant-based diet. I'm transitioning to be more vegan. But my bitter pill to swallow is, just because you're vegan doesn't mean you're a nutritionist. And I went into this room, and I went in because I liked the title of the room, and I thought I was going to get some advice about it. So a bit of a backstory about me is that I've tried being completely vegan, and it was great when I was living with my girlfriend, because she's an amazing cook and she cooks loads of good vegan stuff all the time and knows all the recipes, and it's awesome. But now I moved back in with my parents, and I don't have her cooking for me. It's like or like giving me the recipe ideas and stuff. It's a lot harder for me to do it. So not that I don't want to be vegan, I don't want to support that kind of route, but I value my health more right now. So it's like, I want to make sure that I am fueling my body in the right way, I'm giving it the right foods and stuff. So there needs to be this awareness about this transition period, basically, is what I'm trying to get at, saying that, so being vegan and then being not vegan to go into be vegan is like a whole ball game of loads of shit you've got to learn about food and cooking and nutrients and like supplements and whatnot, different things you need to take. It's a completely different kind of diet and lifestyle. But there isn't anyone that talks about this middle phase that you need to go through. It's either you're not vegan or you're vegan. So I went into this room anyway, explaining about my circumstance of being in the middle, and there were this like supremacy vegan woman leading the room. And
we fucking broccoli Hitler.
And like she literally started raining down on me. It's like, you're not a vegan, you transition to a little bit of a plant-based diet, but you're not doing this right, you're not doing that right, you can't call yourself a vegan, you can't call yourself any. I'm like, Jesus, I'm trying to do something to help the animal, right?
Was she being like really abusive, like nearly, or tone
like,
and all?
Like, she wasn't like actually like physically shouting at me, but do you know, you just feeling, I felt intimidated and I'm listening to my phone.
Was she American? I bet she was American.
Yeah. American woman, and I was just like you are the reason why it's so hard for people to get behind being vegan. Like, I understand activism, and there's some people that do vegan activism in a great way. I mean, I'm never going to be that vegan activist, but I want to do my bit to cut down the CO2 emissions, animal rights kind of side of it, and I think it's a lot more sustainable for the planet in general and just animal well-being and stuff as well. So they're the reasons why I want to transition down that line. But like I say,
you don't want to sacrifice your health.
Not a sacrifice to my health. And I'm not saying that you can't be healthy on a vegan diet. I'm saying I don't know how to be healthy on a vegan diet. And I think that that's one thing that is very underestimated. So if you watch this, the thing is like, what is there's the Game Changers and I know what the health's a load of bollocks, but Game Changers has got some like valid points in it. But again, there's a lot of shit on it as well. There's a lot of shit on it as well. And like I watched the debunkings of them as well on YouTube, and they were really like eye-opening to certain elements of it, because they do focus on a lot of just small elements of it, and they don't really. It's like the world's strongest man who's vegan who no one's ever heard of before. It's like, oh, right, okay.
Because he wasn't. He was just a strong guy.
And basically he made up his own world record to compete in that documentary and do it in that documentary, which were crazy. But anyway, this woman was just going off at me, and I was like, you are literally what is wrong with like
the vegan community.
Vegan communities. Like, I'm not saying that the rest of it, like, I've met a load of people that are vegan and I've talked to them and I've had really good open chats, and they're really like positive about it's actually really good that you're trying to make a change. And I was like saying to them that like it is good, but can there please be like some kind of, if any, vegan influencers out there? I think it'd be amazing if you made an ebook or a guide or some kind of course about how to transition and learning the steps of transitioning to be vegan, so that you can make sure your diet's getting enough protein and the right amount of aminos and stuff, and you can make sure that you're getting the B12 and all these other iodine and these other like nutrients and stuff that vegans commonly lack. And this is why, like, when you look back at a lot of the people that go like, oh, I went vegan, I felt great for a bit, and then I started to feel shit, and then I started eating meat again, or like I was more prone to injury at this point. It happened to me as well. When I first went vegan, when I did the first month, first 2 weeks felt class, body felt ace, because I'm just constantly having loads of different things. But then the supply of things that you have when you do eating meat starts to run out, and then you do start to feel shit. So there needs to be that balance of finding, like, eating the shit that you need, eating the stuff that your body needs.
But I think the reason a lot of people don't go to it is that complex of that woman shoving it down your throat. It's like religion, like people going and shoving it down your throat. Like, no one's gonna bite for that anymore. It's not the fucking 15th century where you're forcing people to do things. Like, now it has to be choice. You need to like tempt someone to do it, not tell them to do this or you're a murderer or anything like that there. Which brings me on to like my experience with vegans, which is not the greatest either. Like, this is what put me off and made me really fucking stereotype them, which I probably shouldn't, but I did, because of this guy I met. It was in Dubai airport. I was going back to Saudi, and I was just sitting there, and this guy, he had a camera, and he asked me to move because he wanted to take a picture, and I was like, yeah, no sweat. He looked cool. He had tattoos and stuff on his face, and I had tattoos at the time, so he seemed sound. So we had a chat, and we're just chatting away. There's a normal conversation, what he does, he travels, blah blah blah, talking about his life, where he's from, where I'm from, and then next minute he just took a complete turn. He's like, so are you a meat eater? And I was like, what the fuck? Didn't expect it. And I was like, well, yeah, why? And he was like, do you know you're like murdering animals, and you're going to die of like heart disease? Like, just started like completely changed and started to get at me. And he probably didn't know that I was pretty fucking. I know a bit about nutrition, and I'm pretty against that argument completely. And then he just started rhyming off these stupid facts and statistics. Like, say something around 50% of people in the United States will be vegan by 5 years or something like that. There, he said, and I was just like, where are you pulling this from? And I was hitting back, and like my blood was boiling, and my flight was nearly getting to the call, and my fists were just like clenched. I was getting so angry. I was going back to the desert, what I hated, going from Dubai partying all weekend, going back into Saudi. I was just not in a good place, and he was hitting me with all this, and I was just like, do you know what, mate? I'm going back to Saudi to build death machines for the Saudi Air Force. Like, do you really think I have a complex of fucking killing cows and eating a cow? And he was just like speechless. He didn't know what to say. And like, I didn't really want to say something like that, but like, you couldn't shut him up. He was just at me and at me and at me. Either I said that or I fucking hit him. I don't want to get the no-fly list.
Yeah,
but it's just the epitome of like people forcing stuff down your throat. It doesn't help anything.
No, it doesn't help anything. And I get like the activism is out there to share a message, but I think there's a lot of people that do it well and have got the facts down to a T, and they know what they're talking about. Whereas like what he was saying about that in general there is a load of BS about 50% of Americans and all this kind of crap. And it's like, why if someone else does something, does it mean I have to do it anyway? It's like, I live in my own life, thanks.
Absolutely.
You do you, boo.
Yeah, exactly. And it's just something like things like that. Don't get me wrong, I like to help the environment when I can, but at the same time, like that just puts people off like doing anything, even if it was something that was very enjoyable.
The main way of helping the environment is like there's so much of like the rainforest that's taken down and whatnot to grow crops that then are meant to be used for feeding cows, which for every like, I think it's about, I can't remember the exact number, I'm probably going to butcher it, but I think it's every 9 calories of whole grain that is grown on the planet is then made up for 1 calorie of meat. So obviously on a one scale that's 9 calories, but on a mass scale of what we're actually doing it on, that is like feeding the rest of the planet kind of levels of shit that's going on. And there's a lot of different arguments, there's a lot of reasons behind it, and I just think that me personally, I want to do my bit in that way, and it's like I'm not out there to tell anyone, oh, you're shit you because you're not doing it.
And it wouldn't affect you, say if we went to a restaurant and then you ordered a salad and I got a big fat steak and sat in front of you, like I wouldn't affect you at all, would it?
No, I wouldn't be bothered about that. No, I know that there's more people that would be, but I would like I'm not gonna affect like friendships or conversations with anyone because of it. It'd just be like, yeah, just see what the vegan options are, because I don't eat any meat and I don't have any dairy. So the first step I took was cutting out dairy. So I didn't have cow's milk anymore. When I learned a lot about the process of that, I thought it was fucking disgusting. And then
beast.
everyone was saying, I mean, I could go into it, but it disgusts a lot of people, and I don't think that it's the right platform for
me. You couldn't put me off milk. I fucking love it. Like, I drink a gallon of it easy.
Yeah, I just think, right, I'm going to say it then anyway. But
go, tell me, go. Put me off, I dare you.
So apparently, in milk farms, they have what they it's like a white blood cell limit. So there's allowed to be so much white blood cells in the milk. So imagine like a spot on your face, you pop a spot, that little bit of a pussy bit is like the white blood cells. So they allow a certain portion of that, I think it's like 0.2% of that actually into the milk, and like that's an allowable amount. So there's like all these cows that are kept in fucking horrible shit conditions that have loads and loads of infections. So the the white blood cell counts are through the roof anyway. That then processes into the milk, which is then filtered out, and I'm like, fuck that. So that's what stopped me having cow's milk and dairy in general. Plus, it's obviously really fucked up about how a cow has to be pregnant to create milk. And obviously they physically get a bull's sperm and then arm rape the cow to get the sperm.
That's literally someone's job.
And then obviously when they're pregnant and they create milk, so they're constantly their entire life they're pregnant, and then they get slaughtered, which is fucking horrible. But again, I don't want to go down that hole because that's it's not
don't want to go down that hole. No.
Really don't want to go down that hole. But yeah, it's disgusting. So like people are like, oh, I couldn't live without cheese. I couldn't live without cheese. And I can say now that one thing I worried about, but there is so many good cheese replacements. I had cheese on toast for lunch today. There's so many good cheese replacements now. That's not.
What's it made of?
I say that's just like I think it's either oat milk or almond milk. But it was really good what I had today as well. And it was like some of the issues is with like texture and stuff, and it not really like been runny as much, or like when you melt the cheese anyway, and it was fucking good, the cheese on toast that I had today. But so I cut out dairy. Then the next step we're cutting out red meat, and then I've cut out chicken. I'm still, having some fish and some eggs, but I'm trying to wean them off slowly. And then once I get my full meals replaced and kind of recipes in place, so I'm not eating the same shit constantly over and over again, then I will transition fully into not eating meat at all. But again, it's a process.
What about bacon? Do you miss bacon?
If you just told me a year ago that you're going to go vegan and not have bacon, I'd have been like, fuck off. But I hadn't really missed it. I hadn't missed it.
Oh man, bacon paste.
I'm saying that one of the main things that I actually said I've missed, and it's weird because probably because I'm still eating fish, is that it's like going out for sushi and like having proper sushi like that. And I don't know. It's weird where my lines are at the minute. It's like because I'm trying to transition, but I'm having some fish and I'm having eggs sometimes. But yeah, I'm trying my best to wean it down.
I'd miss a good steak. Like I couldn't do it, man. I big credits where credits due. Like
if you just said that to me a year ago, I'd have been like, yeah, not a chance. I'd ever be able to do it. But it's becoming easier and easier to do it. And I think actually there's a company called This Is. And they're basically like, they make food that they say like, this is chicken, this is bacon, and whatever. And it's really, really good. It tastes class.
Well, it's an alternative.
It's an alternative, yeah. And they did this thing in Veganuary where
that's a thing.
They got a
Christ tonight. Adam.
What? Veganuary?
Come on.
What? Wait, is it like people going vegan for a month? But this company.
Veganuary.
This company.
I'm going to do Veganuary next year. Just eat bacon all week. All month even.
This company. It's absolutely genius marketing. They said if you're struggling with being vegan throughout January and you're struggling with Veganuary, ring this number. And they've literally hired comedians to sit on the other end of this number and answer phone calls and tell them a funny joke about animals.
What?
I think it might still be a thing. I'd have to check it and see, but it's called This.is, and they've done two really good bits of marketing. They've done that, where if you're struggling with Veganuary, give this number a ring, and I gave it a ring. I rang it up, and there was a comedian on the other end saying, press 1 to hear a cow oink, press 2 to hear an animal joke. And they've got like 3 or 4 different options, which are absolutely class. And then they also did this thing where they sent influencers this meal prep package. So I know when the influencer sent it to from Leeds, and like these guys are like hundreds of thousands of followers, and they were like, oh, we're sending you this meal prep pack with chicken in it, and none of them knew that it was fake chicken. They all thought it was chicken.
Really?
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. Like.
So, and they're all like giving it proper raving good reviews and stuff as well. So it was sick, this kind of little prank thing they did. But yeah, that kind of went down the rabbit hole of veganism a little bit. But
it's a good topic to have, to be fair. Like a lot of people are interested in it, but a lot of people are against it too. But at the same time, being the way your perspective is, where you're not trying to shove it down someone's throat and you're giving away the facts, and you're sharing that you used to be a wild big meat eater, then it's a good perspective to have from other people. Yeah. Still not going to make me do it, but
well, they were like, I did a year and a half ago I was doing bodybuilding, competing in bodybuilding, and there wasn't a meal like that was vegan. So like wake up in the morning, first meal is egg whites, next one is whey protein in oats, next one's chicken, next one after that's chicken.
That's pretty much my diet now. Like
salmon before I go to bed, and it were like literally like every single thing I do is like you don't have to have whey protein. You can have like plant-based protein, and it's just there is some that's a bit muddy, but they tastes a bit dirty.
Have you ever seen the other side, the carnivore diet, where people all do is eat meat, like no carbs?
I
just
did that
meat.
for a little bit. Before I was the realm of carbs apart.
You're just a little diet slut. That's all you are. Just take them all.
This was when I didn't. This is when I first started trying to lose weight. When I was like, I was like 5 stone heavier, and I did. But it was for me. It was cutting out the sugars. So cutting out all the simple carbohydrates that are having like the sweets and the sugars. So if I just said I can't have carbs, it was a lot easier for my brain to process having.
So you went keto, or?
Yeah. So I went kind of like I went keto for a little bit, but it didn't last very long. And then I just started going with balanced diet, which is the way forward for everyone ever. Just a nice, well-rounded, balanced diet.
I'd be half tempted to do the keto just to try it. Cause do you remember when we were in Bali and we were talking to that guy who was like, he looked fantastic. Like I'm not gay, like, but good looking cunt, like, and he looked about maybe 27, 28, and I got chatting to him, and he was 38 years old, and his whole life's been spent on research and stem cells and stuff, and he's like, his whole research is all about making him live as long as possible. So he was adamant that he was going to live to 120 years old, and he like he took stem cells every, I don't know, month, 2 months. And his physical age is 26 or 25, I think it was, but he was actually 38. And all he done was keto diet. He's been doing keto diet for the past like fucking 8 years, whatever it was. But he says that's literally the healthiest way to do it. But that sort of turned my head because there was literal proof. He's written books. He actually he done Lewis Hamilton's diet. He's the one who converted him to fucking veganism, or not veganism, vegetarianism, I think it is. But he's only done that for him, and he's got like all this other research. I looked it up as well. Like he knows his shit, and that's the first time I met someone with that sort of education. Yeah, well, I don't even know what his name is. I completely forgot now, but it would be awesome to get him on. But like that sort of turned my head. I'd like to try keto just to see what that keto to get that stage of ketosis.
I'm just not about any kind of faddy diet at the minute now. It's like something that's going to be sustainable and you can do in the longer term. And people would probably say something about being like a vegan diet not being like that, but I think if you get it right and you do it right, which I'm learning to do steadily.
Vegan's not really a diet. I'd say it's more a lifestyle, to be fair.
Yeah, it definitely is. And like I think it comes in phases. It's like you start by cutting something out and then you can cut something out. If you just go tomorrow, I'm going to be vegan, you'd be realise, oh shit, there's that in my house that's cool. It's
the same as anything. It's like stopping smoking and shit like that there. Like you just can't do it all at once.
And I think that there's not as much people are just like, oh, I'm not vegan, I'm vegan. I think there needs to be I'm a transitioning transition vegan.
But that was a good rabbit hole, and I'm sure a lot of people learned something that they didn't know.
Hopefully people can take value from it. That's what we like about rabbit holes, isn't it? Just kind of go down, but hopefully we got a little bit of knowledge about them so that people can get some out of them.
Absolutely, and we're running out of time, but we've got enough time for, I'd say, one. What's the last bit?
One thing to put in the bin.
Oh, we're putting in the bin. That's right. And I'm going to put in long distance relationships because they're fucking shite. I've done them for 3 years and I'm sick of it. I'm fucking sick of it.
Just come live with us now.
It's brutal. Like, obviously, I've been away for actually 4 years now. Sorry, 4 years, and I've pretty much been. I've never lasted a relationship longer than 3 months while I've been away, purely because of long distance relationships. It's just so hard to maintain. Like it's so difficult. The way I wanted to raise it now is because a lot of people are technically in long distance relationships because of lockdown, especially in England where people live quite far away from their girlfriends or wives or whatever, and they have to travel. So now they can't travel. They're basically in a long distance relationship in the day, and it's fucking hard. But now I've got the hang of it with Helena. Like now, it started off like so. Last Christmas I met her, and it took me 2 months to realise it's gonna go down the same way unless I do something about it. And I not made her, but asked her to come out to Italy to live with me for 6 months, and it's the best decision I ever made. And to be fair, if I didn't do that, I don't know if we'd still be together. Like just because purely it's not sustainable. And if anyone else does have a long distance relationship or is knowledgeable about it, please contact me and let me know your tips, your tricks. But what I have gathered from these 4 years is you cannot stay with someone long distance unless you know you're going to stay with them for a long time. And at the same time, if you don't know that you're going to be with them for a long time, fucking need hit the nail on the head early and get it away. There's no point in wasting time with that.
Yeah.
But
no, well, it's like
hard.
I live 20 minutes away from Alice, my girlfriend at the minute, and it is like a long distance relationship. Like, I say it is like we can still go out and see each other for like a walk, like once a week, kind of thing. But the way that she works is that obviously she's working 9 to 5, working from home, and then when it gets to 5 o'clock here, it's pitch black. So it's not like we can really go out for a walk then. And it's like we when it gets to the weekend, we're going out and like going on a walk together. But you don't get that time together. You don't get properly going on a walk. Just all right, I guess. But get to speak to them. But it is a little bit like that. And I can see if you are kind of cities away, like say in my case, like if it were Leeds or Manchester, then you're not allowed to leave that kind of area, are you really? So it is really shit. But obviously being in a completely different country is another kettle of fish.
It's like it really teaches you how to be selfish and compromise. Like the things you have to compromise to have a long distance relationship is ridiculous. Like you could easily and not compromise too far. That's the biggest mistake people make. Like I could have easily just says, fuck my career, I'm going back to live home and just getting a wee cushy job so I can be with my girlfriend. But like that sort of compromise isn't good for anyone. Like it'd make me have less money, have a not good career and backfire, and then, like it could have a really bad effect on life in general. But making the sacrifice, like I made a massive risk of bringing her out after only knowing her three months and living with her for 6 months after that. Like that's a massive risk. Like imagine things didn't work out and I didn't really suss her out as what I thought she was, and she came out here and she was a bitch. But obviously she wasn't. But if it was, it could have been awful because it was during lockdown. She wouldn't be able to get home. We drove over with one car. Like there was no flights. It was risky. Like, but obviously it paid off. But like another time it couldn't have. But
I think it's like that because, and I think one thing about kind of relationships in this pandemic is it's okay for your relationship to not progress by the norm of being like, oh, we spent time together, oh, we started dating, oh, we're boyfriend girlfriend, we moved in together, blah blah blah. Because like looking at it, it's like last year fucked me up financially. So when I renovated the house, me and Alice moved into the house and we were living together. But then when we had to move out of the house and the house sold, with the year's finances, I wasn't quite ready to get a place yet, so I had to move back in with my mum and dad. So, and that put such a strain on the relationship that we'd taken this big step forward to living together, to now having to live apart again. And it was a step back to take a step forward into the future, and it's just it was so necessary for us. But I know that if we wasn't, I mean, we split up for a little bit in that time because of us moving out and whatnot, but if we wasn't strong together and knew that it's like, this is the person I want to be with, like rest of your life kind of thing, it'd be like, well, what's the fucking point? And there
was a lot of, I remember there was a lot of like acting out of emotion during that, like, and I am a firm believer as well of not acting out of emotion. It's always a bad move. You always have to like think of what you're doing, and like trying to like making a decision out of emotion it's hard. And I think that's when we went along, if I remember right, used to like there was a lot of emotion going on, and you made a lot of decisions under emotion.
Well, like that's what I mean is like the decision in the end about the splitting up was hers, and it was because she felt like I'd abandoned her because we were moved in together, we were at this point, and then we'd taken this step back of moving apart. And realistically, it was taking a step back so financially we could be stronger for the future. And if anything, it was a smart, intelligent step, but the emotions were telling her brain something different than what it actually meant. And it was a really tough situation on both of us, and it was really, really hard. And I'm glad that it's all worked out. I think I'm definitely glad that it's all worked out.
don't say shit like that.
I'm gonna edit the thing out.
next podcast next week is you crying the whole time. no, but at the end of the day, long distance relationships I commend anyone who does it. Like, hats off to you, because it is impressive, and I would like to, if you do it, let me know. I'd like to talk to you about it, because it's definitely. And like we've always said, I think we're about at that point where we'll wrap up the episode a little bit here, but
Guys, we want to hear your stories. We want to hear your questions and or like your stories that you want to share with us. It were awesome last week having someone send in theirs, and we could have a listen to it and react to it. And I think we dived really deep into that kind of steroids and performance enhancing drugs realm of things well. So it's good, and it lets us kind of, we like going off into the rabbit hole sometimes as well, and hopefully you guys get a little bit of value out of it. But it's good, isn't it, mate? Like listening to other people's perceptions on it and other people's.
Different perspectives is always good, and especially questions that we don't really think about. I'm sure people are listening to us talk shit and think, "Fuck, I should really ask them this." Like, or maybe we're wrong. Maybe we're wrong about something. Tell us. Like, we're new to this as well, and we're open minded. We're not gonna like shit ourselves if you say something bad against us or you're against us in an argument. Like, we'll want a debate. We want to learn from you just as much as the vice versa. So yeah, get in contact and hit us up, either on our Instagrams or whatever. I'm gonna plug some hybrid stuff. We are live with the female range. Went live last week, and they're going out like hot potatoes. I don't know if that's a saying. I've heard someone say something similar, but they're going out fast. So get involved. There before the sellout. There's very limited amounts, and just to practice your veganism, they're actually made from recycled bottles found in the ocean. How about that, Adam? You turtle lover.
Wait, when we were on, just very random, but when we were on Gili Islands, we drove past the total, like literally on the road. It was like next to it, it was crazy. Apparently it was all the lights that brought it in because they go to moonlight to lay their eggs, and it went into the city bit where the nightclubs were on Gili Tea.
See,
and literally went past the turtle. It were awesome.
That was pretty cool. I swam with them in Gili Tea just then.
Yeah, no, it was Irish class.
Oh, you were there. You were on the boat. remember you were there?
I was next. You filmed me doing it.
I know. I've already got photos on the phone. And on that note, I am tired. I'm going to bed.
Yeah, I think you need your sleep, mate. Right, guys, that was. I think I like that episode. We went down a lot of rabbit holes, and I thought that were really good. But if you are listening on any of the podcasting platforms, then please leave us a review, or even like the video, leave us a 5-star rating if you want, or a rating, any rating, so we know what kind of you.
No, 5, only 5. If you give me 4, I'll find you and I'll stab you in the throat.
I'll tell you that it makes death machines.
Adam will kill you with a banana.
If you're watching on YouTube, please subscribe, hit that notification bell when you know when our next videos go up. And I think that's everything, guys, so we'll see you next week.
Ciao.